Hi, I'm Jeremy Best. I'm here to talk about my work, Heavenly Fatherland, a German Missionaries and Globalization. It's a manuscript currently under review with the University of Toronto Press. In the research for this manuscript, I visited 12 archives, 6 research libraries in Germany, Poland, and the United States. What it is a history of 19th century German Protestant missionary culture. It's a political and cultural analysis. That is to say, it looks at missionaries, mission societies, mission intellectuals, and the supporters of missionaries, the lay people who give time, treasure, and talent to support those organizations. And in doing so, it reshapes our understanding of colonial and religious history in Germany. The prevailing view is often that Germany was far more violent and far more racist than any other country or great power in the 19th or 20th century, and that the Holocaust, thus, and German colonialism belong in the same narrative frame. My project argues that, in fact, German colonial and racial thought was far less monolithic than that there were many, many strands of thought about who and what the people of the world were, and then, in fact, that a history of German colonial history has to recognize that the history of all European colonial powers converges more than it diverges, and thus the Holocaust is not the automatic recipient the automatic continuation of colonialism. Who were these German Protestant missionaries? In my findings, they were universalist and they were global. They were universalist in how they saw the world and saw their message. They understood Protestantism to be an inclusive faith, open to all peoples, and they were global. They thought about their project not as a project in Germany and its colonies, but a project around the world, seeking to bring together all Protestants. And such, they articulated a clear position that their work must be independent, it must be international, it must be autonomous. And they refused any collaboration with German national secular authorities, the German colonial administration, German economic actors, and instead sought out global collaborations with other missionaries, and furthermore, collaborations with indigenous peoples. Their theology and their worldview emphasized the value of non-Western cultures. This wasn't, it's anachronistic to refer to this as sort of multiculturalism of our own time, but it was certainly a primitive version, a primitive approach to diversity that highlighted especially the value of cultures except their lack of Christianity, of course, which is, of course, a huge exception, but it is particularly relevant. Their educational priorities were to create autonomous indigenous churches in schools like this one here at Kisarawe on the coast of German East Africa. And in fact, the geography of the movement was global. I focus on Germany, where they acted in local and national politics. I focus on the international world, where they sought their collaborations. And I use Germany, East Africa, mainland Tanzania of our own day, as a site for case studies, especially of educational, religious, and cultural policies, and their participation and their contest with others. As a project, this is a history of globalization. Globalization was and is not just an economic or political process. It is also cultural and religious. People experience it not just as a loss of jobs or a gaining of jobs or as new commodities, but also as new ideas and new cultural experiences. And in fact, as a history of colonialism and a history of Christianity, this project insists that the German version of those things is an important part of the global history of those things. And that understanding Germany's place in that helps us understand all the better the colonial history of our time and of the past. And finally, it's a history of race in Germany. As a history of race in Germany, it demonstrates that missionaries' cultural inclusivity challenged other narratives of racism in Germany at the time and does not cede the field exclusively to those ideas. Thank you.